The Cloud That Learned to Draw. Once upon a time, in a sky full of clouds, there was a little cloud named Clara. Clara was not like the other clouds. While her friends loved to drift lazily, make rain, or play hide-and-seek with the sun, Clara spent her days gazing down at the world below with wide, curious eyes. She watched the rolling hills, the sparkling rivers, the bustling cities, and the quiet forests. But what fascinated her most were the drawings and paintings she sometimes saw. Colourful chalk sketches on sidewalks, bright murals on school walls, and crayon masterpieces hung in windows. Clara wanted to draw too. But how could a cloud draw? She had no hands, no crayons, no paintbrushes. All she had was her fluffy, puffy self and the ever-changing winds that carried her across the sky. One bright morning, as the sun rose golden and gentle, Clara drifted over a small town. Children were playing on the playground below, their laughter rising up like music. On the basketball court, a group of kids had drawn a hopscotch path with coloured chalk. The shapes and numbers seemed to dance in the sunlight. Clara longed to join them. If only I could make something beautiful, she thought. Something that would make people smile. She tried blowing herself into a circle, then a square, but the wind kept pulling her apart. She tried to puff up big enough to cover the whole town, but she just ended up looking like a lumpy pillow. Feeling discouraged, Clara floated higher. She watched as the children below pointed at the sky, tracing patterns with their fingers. That's when she realized they were drawing with their imaginations, using the clouds as their canvas. Suddenly, Clara had an idea. If I can't draw with crayons or chalk, maybe I can draw with myself. Eager to try, she began to concentrate. She squeezed and stretched, twisted and turned, letting the wind guide her shape. It wasn't easy. Sometimes she ended up looking like a squiggly worm or a lopsided pancake. But as she practiced, she grew better at it. One afternoon, she managed to puff herself into the shape of a giant bunny. The children below squealed with delight, pointing and laughing. "Look, a bunny cloud!" they shouted. Clara felt a tingle of happiness. She'd done it. She had drawn in the sky. From that day on, Clara became the most creative cloud in the sky. Every day, she formed a new shape for the world to see. Sometimes she was a soaring eagle, wings outstretched. Other times, she became a sailing ship, a crown, a smiling face, or a bouquet of flowers. The people below would stop and stare, guessing what she was each day. Clara's favourite part was watching the children draw her shapes on the sidewalk, adding their own colours and ideas. She realised that by drawing in the sky, she was inspiring others to draw too. The more she created, the more the world below filled with art, laughter, and imagination. One blustery day, as she floated over a big city, Clara noticed a boy sitting alone on a bench, looking sad. The boy clutched a notebook to his chest, but he wasn't drawing, just staring at the blank pages. Clara wanted to help. She thought hard about what might cheer the boy up. Then, with a deep breath, she gathered herself into the shape of a great, gentle dragon. The dragon curled around the sun, its tail flicking playfully. The boy looked up and gasped. A smile spread across his face. He opened his notebook and began to draw, his pencil flying across the pages. Soon other children joined him, and the bench became a place of stories and pictures. Clara felt her heart swell with joy. She realized that her drawings didn't have to be perfect. What mattered was the happiness they brought to others. As days turned into weeks, Clara's sky art became famous. People from nearby towns would gather to watch her daily creations. Some brought picnic blankets and snacks, making a game of guessing her shapes. Artists painted her clouds, poets wrote about her, and photographers tried to capture her fleeting masterpieces. But Clara never grew boastful. She knew that her gift was meant to be shared. She loved how her drawings brought people together, sparked creativity, and made the world a little brighter. One evening, as the sky turned pink and orange, Clara heard a gentle voice. It was the old, wise north wind, who had travelled the world many times over. "Clara," he said kindly, "you have learned something very special. Drawing isn't about having the best tools or making perfect pictures. It's about sharing your heart, your dreams and your joy with others." Clara smiled. She looked down at the world and saw children and grown-ups alike, laughing, drawing, and looking up at the sky with wonder in their eyes. From that day forward, Clara continued to create her sky art, always learning, always sharing. And whenever someone looked up and saw a cloud shaped like a whale, a castle, or a pair of dancing shoes, they knew it was Clara, the cloud that learned to draw, reminding them that creativity lives in everyone and that the world is more beautiful when we share it. And so, every time you look up at the sky and see a fantastical shape drifting by, remember Clara. She's still up there, painting her dreams across the blue canvas, hoping that you'll find your own way to draw, imagine and create. Now close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine what you'd like to see in the clouds. Maybe it's a magical castle, a brave knight, a friendly dinosaur, or a shooting star. With a little bit of imagination, the sky is yours to explore, just like Clara, the cloud that learned to draw. Once, when the wind was especially playful, Clara found herself floating far from her usual town, over a valley filled with flowers and tall grass. She saw a group of artists, their easels set up painting the landscape. They glanced up at her, brushes poised, waiting for inspiration. Clara wanted to help. She twisted into the shape of a great sunflower, her wispy petals glowing golden in the sunlight. The artists grinned and began to paint her likeness, capturing her in swirls and splashes of colour. One little girl, with pigtails and a paint-streaked apron, looked up and waved. "Thank you, Cloud," she called. Clara beamed. She floated a little lower, close enough to feel the warmth of the sun and the gentle tickle of the grass. She realized that art wasn't just about what you made, but also about the connections you built. The smiles, the laughter, the feeling of being part of something bigger. As she drifted on, Clara met other clouds who wanted to learn too. She showed them how to shape themselves, how to be a dolphin, a kite, a rocket ship. Soon, the sky was alive with cloud creations, each one unique and wonderful. The children below made up stories about the cloud shapes. "That one is a hero flying to save the day. That's a birthday cake for all the birds. Look, a parade of elephants." Clara loved the way her drawings sparked stories and dreams. She realized that the world was like a giant picture book, filled with endless pages to be drawn and colored. Sometimes, when the rain came, Clara would let herself become a gentle shower, watering the gardens and filling the ponds. She learned that even her rainy days could be beautiful, bringing rainbows and the promise of new flowers. Clara's favorite days were when the sky was a bright blue canvas, ready for her to create something new. With the help of the sun and the wind, she would glide across the sky, shaping herself into something special. A reminder to everyone below that art can be found everywhere, even in the clouds. So next time you see a cloud drifting by, take a moment to imagine. Maybe it's Clara, drawing just for you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel inspired to pick up your own pencil, crayon or paintbrush and create something wonderful too. Because, like Clara learned, creativity has no limits, and anyone, even a little cloud, can make the world a brighter, more magical place. And so Clara's story drifts on, painting the sky with hope, imagination, and the joy of creation, reminding us all that sometimes the best art is made with a little bit of courage, a dash of imagination, and a heart full of dreams.